Howdy everyone, welcome to Neat Junk. Today we're looking at some vinyl records I picked up yesterday at a pawn shop, as well as some other media that was there. I was just driving around the Connecticut area yesterday because garage sale season, estate sale season is sort of dried up for the time being, and it's December, and I thought might as well visit some places I hadn't been to in a while and check out the old reliable mom and pop pawn shops. And so I did, and I'm happy I did. I also picked up a bunch of paper from another sort of junk shop, which I'll sort of make a part two video for. But for now, I just wanted to kind of go over the media and the vinyl records I was picking while I was there. And so basically, when I was there, I was in the zone, guys. It was one of those situations where you could tell he just wanted to get rid of these things, and I just basically said, "Can I make a pile and we can go from there?" And I got the vibe that was the move. And I'd been there before. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, when I was last there, it was kind of the same vibe, and I made out pretty well. But they had a lot more records this time. And as I was going through, I was definitely getting a bunch of maybes in the pile, and I definitely made a large, I think a 75 record pile of just about, if not more than that. I counted just a little stack and then kind of did the math in my head for the rest. And for everything, I also said I'd be interested in the 2 boxes of 45s, these comics and these tapes, these 8 tracks. And we negotiated a price of $160. So I think I did pretty well, considering, I mean, you're going to see some titles in here. I mean, you got unfortunate things like Black Sabbath, which has one of the records is like kind of warped and stuff, but I just threw it in there because I didn't want to leave it behind. And I was like, if I don't have this, I could potentially, keep this as a filler in my personal collection. But for the most part, these are all going to be eBay material. You know what I mean? Like the Pentangle, I've heard that name before, and there's a couple records in here of theirs, but never really listened to them. So I'm excited to A, listen to it, and B, list that thing on eBay and see what it's worth. As for keepers, though, I did on the top of those 45 record boxes here, you see some old style, rock and roll there. And underneath that, I kind of saw these peeping out. Ventures, Johnny and the Hurricanes, just some surf music, which, if y'all know anything about record collecting, it's not the most common genre. And when you find stuff like this, as a collector, you just kind of get excited. So the song Sheba, for example, it's just a dirty song. And if y'all are interested, I suggest checking that out. I wish I could play it here right now. I would if I could, but I don't think YouTube likes me playing other people's music. Let's get back into what else I found. Once again, I checked the vinyl. Let's check it together. I gotta put this down for a second. But guys, it's got the inner sleeve. I mean, not the best condition, but this kind of gives you an idea of what was in there. And once again, I mean, it's not perfect, but I've seen a lot worse Van Halen records in my life. And we have an antique booth, which records like this, the classic, I want to say 80s rock, 70s rock will go in there. And then stuff like the Pentangle and all that kind of stuff will go more along the lines of eBay and all that. You don't see too much Notorious B.I.G. out there, so that's fun. Springsteen, TLC, Genesis. Stevie Wonder presents Sarita. Once again, stuff I hadn't really heard of. I was just kind of making a big old pile. Canary album, kind of a strange one. I'm not sure if that's... Excuse me for the mishap. Pretty interesting stuff, right? I think it's either Birds or it's going to be dulcimer music, because a lot of this stuff there, you got Pentangle again. A lot of this stuff is dulcimer related, which is an instrument that I'm not, no one really plays dulcimer these days, but there's a lot in here related to that. And once again, guys, all this for $160. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of like filler titles in here, but there's also a lot of weird, a lot of weird stuff that I couldn't leave behind. And he wanted, I think, a lot more for basically everything, but we ultimately ended on 160, and we were both happy. We got a lot of hip hop stuff too that I was just kind of taking a chance on, knowing that a lot of these 12 inches basically are just kind of like $5. You know, this one was marked at $3 at one point. This one's not very common, and it's actually in there. I made sure to check. Vanilla Ice. I mean, hey, these are all going up on eBay, y'all, by the way. All these, most of these at least, the hip-hop stuff. And then stuff like this, it's nothing, you know, valuable, but I've sold this record before for $5 without the shrink, so it's like, I can't really say no if it's just going to be part of the deal. I thought that was a cool cover. I'm excited to listen to this thing, you know what I mean? Stuff that I don't necessarily collect. I collect mostly that surf rock like I was showing you before, but I do enjoy listening to stuff that I'm unfamiliar with. And at this point, we might as well just go through all the records, y'all. Ooh, this was very interesting. If y'all have ever seen that Fairies book from the 1970s, it almost reminds me of the people behind that. Once again, the dulcimer kind of mystical kind of folk music is basically what I'm gonna assume a lot of this is gonna be, but you don't see it every day, and I'm excited to see kind of what value that kind of stuff has. There's a couple of Hank Williams records I got just because, worst comes to worst, I lot some of these up. I mean, I do end up lotting a lot of these up, such as if I don't keep this is definitely going in a lot with that warp I told you all about. More Hank Williams. I'm going to try to make this more accessible here. Not too familiar. Oh, this was and another, they had just so many weird boxes and places and just different zones in this pawn shop, y'all. It's not like a chain pawn shop where everything, you know, is priced out, you know, just where they're looking everything up. This is just like, there's a box of records over there, there's a stack of records over here, and you just kind of pick and pull them all together. And that's kind of what happened with a couple of these, such as this. I mean, the point, I'm not sure if I have the point, but if I don't have this, it might be a keeper, because who doesn't need some Nilsson in their life? I looked this one up. This was one of the few I looked up while I was there, and I mean, cool, you know, cover, cool concept. Usually records like this do pretty well. I think it's like an $8 record at the most. Rick James, you all know. The Band. Rubber Soul. This is an unfortunate one because there was basically, this was a loose cover, and I married it with a disc that was in there, a Rubber Soul disc, and there was 2 Rubber Soul discs. I left one behind that had label wear, so who knows if this was the right label in there, but basically it's in there. It's unfortunate, but it's good lot fodder, as I call it. Sealed. Beanie Dude, Method Man. That's probably I mean, hey, you got Wu-Tang on there. It's not nothing, right? Shabba Ranks. Shabba. Quincy Jones. More, is that TLC? More Beatles. I don't think the condition is gonna help me there, but can't argue with just, you know, once again, guys, keep in mind 160 for everything. Band on the Run. McCartney. Some freaking classics, y'all. I can't wait to check out the condition, because you know condition is everything, but when you got rock records in a pile, you gotta just make your own pile, I guess. This record sells okay, even though it's John Denver. It's about the only John Denver record I pick up. I think that one's sealed, yep. Sally Rogers, who knows who that is. And this is kind of where we get into the dulcimer thing and the folk thing. Don't know who this is, but this actually might have been getting into my maybe pile. Actually, this was not my maybe pile. I was going to buy this no matter what. Doobie Brothers. Condition is everything. I only picked that up because it was basically perfect. Once again, sealed. I would never buy this if it wasn't. Shanana. Good company. I don't know what that is. Yep, we're getting into Dulcimer land, where I'll just kind of zoom through this because we don't really know what the hell's going on with these freaks. I was kidding. I love it. I'm gonna have a good time later with those freaks. Voices that care. We got, I thought I saw Whoopi Goldberg on there somewhere, so I thought, I don't know, I'm not too familiar. Once again, not too familiar, but looks funky. Newport. Some sort of single. Glenn Campbell. Once again, playing 12-string guitar. Worst comes to worst, I keep that son of a gun. Hank Thompson, don't know who you are, but this is where we got into the maybe pile. That's what I'm saying. I had a maybe pile that I just ultimately threw in at the end. There's some interesting stuff in there, like, I mean, Yo-Yo Ma, I know that name. Never sold any of his records. Another Sally Rogers. This one seems to be open. Black Mountain Dulcimer, cool stuff, cool stuff. And once again, familiar. Don't know if it's worth anything. You tell me in the comments if I'm just like a fool right now. More uncommon stuff in here. I guess just at least I looked this up because I was like, egg cream, what the heck is that? Sealed 8-track. And yeah, none are listed on eBay. None have sold on eBay. None have sold on Discogs. But it's a known tape that exists, so who knows? I'll do my research. I'll see how much I can get for it. Probably more than, you know, more than $10 at least. Sealed media, guys. I mean, can't really argue with it. He had to keep one for himself, and of all the things he kept for himself, he was like holding this one in his hand. He was like, And he was also holding a what's that called? That guy called, that workout guy, that guy who passed away recently. I had a sealed tape of his, and man, I wish I could remember his name, but he's a very eccentric man, very like fuzzy hair, and yeah, man, oh man, basically he kept that tape for some reason, and this guy, I was like, that's an interesting choice. More sealed stuff that I just, it was there, sealed, whatever, I'll take it. We got some comic books that he had a bunch more. Not very great condition, but once again, we have an antique booth, so I figured these were ones that will at least be decent for an antique booth. My favorite is this one. Don't know anything about it, but I'm excited to look inside. Actually, let's look inside real quick right now, just to get a vibe of, oh yeah, that's some, that looks 60s to me, but you tell me, am I wrong here? Let's find out. Might as well, yeah. 66, as I thought. And this Johnny Cash little booklet here with a Oakdale sort of thing. Is it? That would be cool if he signed it, but I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it, y'all. But anyway, last but not least is all these 45s. I mean, 2 boxes worth. A lot of picture sleeves. Such as the Locomotion, which I just listened to last night, and the ones I showed you. I didn't really look any of these up, but I just love buying 45s because they're just the best distilled little songs that the artist came up with at the time that they decided to put out in such a fashion that I enjoy. And we're going to do part 2 soon. We're going to look at these photos and stuff, postcards, this ephemera that we also purchased at another zone. But let me know how I did, y'all. I'm just about to listen all of this stuff on eBay and processing it all and keeping some of it and just enjoying the life of being a picker out here. Peace out, y'all. Neat junk.